Hi, and welcome to the podcast Making Sense, brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. I'm your host, Emily Bigham, and each week I'll be taking your questions to the experts to help you make sense of your money. Pun intended. Hi, and welcome back to Making Sense, a podcast brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Today we're talking to Brittany Mills, the Assistant Manager in Education Lending. Hey, Brittany, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of things have changed, and earlier we were catching up about like what's been changing in the student loan area. I find it fascinating because, you know, to me when I was thinking about going to school and going to college, you know, growing up in the United States, it's, you know, everyone needs to go to college.
Yep.
It's so expensive, but also I think a lot of the benefits are, you know, actually being on the campus, and you get more than just an education out of college. So I was curious about what's changed over the past year and a half. I feel like that's kind of a loaded question that we can get into, but in general, just right off the bat, like, what do you think has changed in the past 6 months?
Well, I think the fact of the campus experience has changed, right? Lots of people have, at the start of the pandemic, they had to stay home or go back home, right? Because they went to school, and now they're saying, oh, everything is shut down. Colleges are shutting down. Lots of these schools didn't have online programs available, so it's almost like the schools had no other choice but to just say, go home and we'll figure this out as we go. So I feel like a lot of things have changed when it comes to, I can't be on campus with my friends. You know, I have to be online in an online virtual environment, and that was hard for a lot of people if they weren't already used to, you know, taking classes online.
So what's today's headline in the student lending world?
Student loan forgiveness. What are my loans going to be forgiven? That's a big question that students have, and rightly so. I do as well. You know, everyone does that has a student loan. And so Navy Federal, you know, we're waiting to see what will happen in that landscape.
What would that decision change for you? I mean, it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty around that. I mean, I feel like literally the hot word is uncertainty. It's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen in every aspect of everyone's life? But what would that change for Navy Federal or for you in your role?
So we've already changed our strategy when it comes to making sure that members are top of mind, right? So federal student loans, they come with benefits. And when you refinance those as a private student loan, you lose those benefits. And so we made a decision to temporarily pause the refinance of federal student loans so that members could keep their benefits, and we can, you know, make sure that they have what they need and make the best decision for them at that time.
How are you supposed to even make a decision as a student or a parent, or like, do you start saving for college? I mean, you have a son. You have a couple kids, but
Yep.
I know that your superstar football son is looking to go to school in a few years. Like, what's the conversation in your household about college and student loans?
So as you just mentioned, you know, I travel with him for football, and just this past weekend we went to Florida, and he actually wants to go to school in Florida, right? So there's a good chance that he might say, hey, Mom, I want to go to school in Florida. We're going to have to look at all of our options, right, and see what's available. He may get a scholarship. He may not. I can't sit around and wait for that. So, of course, we're going to save our money. We're going to look at the options that are available to us, either from the schools that he picks. We're also going to fill out the FAFSA when it comes time, which is the free student loan application for federal loans. Just things that we will need to do to help him get ready.
So you mentioned federal student loans, and I very luckily did not have to go through this process, so I'm a little bit unfamiliar with it. So apologies up front if I ask a ton of questions about this, but what is the difference between a federal student loan and a private student loan?
Sure. So federal loans, they typically have fixed rates, and they don't require credit, right? So, and then once the funds are granted through the federal loans, grants or scholarships, if they don't cover the full amount, then you'll go ahead and get a private loan, which you can apply for through your bank or credit union. They will determine if you qualify for the amount based on your credit worthiness. Lots of times, co-signers do increase the chance of loan approval and lower the interest rate on your loan.
Okay, so That was a lot of financial speak. So even things as small as like fixed rates and, determining your credit and that they determine it for you. I feel like even submitting something as simple as a credit card application can be daunting because it is kind of like putting something out there and then seeing if it gets accepted. It's a lot of emotional stress. Can you kind of walk me through like the real bare bones steps of like, okay, so I'm a student in high school and I've already decided what college I want to go to that's the best for me, but I can't afford it. So what is your first step? Like, should you even be thinking about federal versus private student loan, or is that uneven? Like, can you kind of walk me through like first things first steps?
Yeah, first things first is to fill out the FAFSA. A lot of people think my parents have too much money, I can't apply, or I wouldn't get any money. You definitely want to go to the FAFSA, which is the free application for student federal aid, to determine what you would qualify for. We want you to exhaust all your federal options first, right?
Okay, so federal number one.
Federal
and
number
use FAFSA. So where can you get that? Is that an application online? Do you go
Yes.
through Navy Federal's website?
That is FAFSA online. I can't think of the website right now, but yes.
Right, Google it.
Google
Yep.
FAFSA.
Google's great. Yeah, yep.
FAFSA.
We'll put it in the show notes.
And, apply. It lets you put up, I think, a couple schools that you choose, and then you can compare those offers once they come back to see what makes sense for you.
Okay. So first things first, use the FAFSA application. And then once you get those back, you kind of consider, okay, is that enough money to cover it, or do I need more money? And how are you supposed to know if you need more money than what someone's told you can have? Does the school provide that?
The school will provide you, I guess, a gap letter. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
Okay. So
I'm pretty sure they will let you know what else is owed on your bill.
what else is owed on your bill? Okay. And then, so when you then decide, okay, I need to go and get more money in private student loan, is that when members reach out to Navy Federal? Is that when
Yes,
you...
that's
okay.
when they shop, and which we encourage, shop for the rates and terms that work for you, because not every lender is the same. You want to check out that lender's reputation. You want to make sure that some lenders require you to pay immediately. So just checking to see what works for you is what's in the best interest for you at that time in your budget.
And for some reason in my head, I thought that student loans really covered like tuition and, just like the bulk of those big expenses. But I kind of found talking to people that maybe it covers other things like dorms and books and just kind of whatever you need. So what do student loans cover, or what can they cover? Is it up to the student, or is it up to the loan product?
It is up to your school.
Oh.
So tuition, dorm room costs, off-campus housing, textbooks and supplies, laptops, food, transportation, anything education-related expenses that are certified by your school. So.
Okay, so the school certifies it.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So do you have to like keep your receipts? I mean, I'm like, so this is so interesting to me. I mean, how does that work?
I think it's up to each individual school, right?
Yeah. Okay. So it's something that you need to talk about with the university.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's so many things that are involved in student loans that it's really crazy.
I know.
And is that something that at Navy Federal you guys help people with? Are you kind of like the trusted advisor? Like, I know that with mortgages, that's something that we definitely, we consider ourselves a trusted advisor. Do you guys do that with
We
members?
do as much as we can to support the student, right? But obviously each school is going to be different in which they require, and we also advise them, hey, reach out to your school, make sure you know what is required of you from them as well.
So refinancing.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Right.
Everyone loves a good refi.
So refinancing is typically great for someone that have all these loans and they want to consolidate them into one payment, right? And they want to potentially reduce the interest rate, which in effect will reduce their monthly payment. But at the same time, refinancing, you should also make sure you have the income to support, as well as the credit history as well.
So, and is this after, like, when are you supposed to think about refinancing? Is it after you're done with school and you have a job and because I know that your credit matters, right? In order to build credit and in order to get a lower rate, you typically have to have higher income or income period. Is that something that you have to wait and do afterwards, or can you do it when you're in the process, like in school?
Most lenders require you to graduate before you can refinance. So, and at that point, you can do it at any time. But again, checking the rates, checking the lenders, knowing what they're being offered is what's in the best interest of you at that time, and making sure that you basically are getting the rate that you want, right? Because you wouldn't want to have a lower rate and try to refinance, and you would get a higher rate. So kind of trying to make it make sense.
Well, and we're in a very low rate environment right now.
Right now, yep.
So are people concerned about rates going up, and are they looking to refinance?
And see, that's where part of the uncertainty is, right? Because of the federal loan component. I believe some lenders are still refinancing federal loans. We are not. So I think some people have even stopped considering it for now, just to see what happens around.
Like put it on pause because you just don't know. And I think that's a smart decision, because if loans start going up, or even inflation will probably impact that a little bit. Also, there's a lot going on with the job market right now with employment. I could think a record number of people have left their jobs. I don't know if that's because, there's a couple ways of looking at that data, right? So it could be like, okay, for the past year and a half, people have kind of been sitting tight in their jobs, not wanting to leave or try to find new ones because, obviously working from home or trying to go to a new company and manage a new team or figure out what's going on while working from home is difficult. So is it now that because everything's opening up and people are starting to get out there more, is that percentage just higher because, people are they've been putting it on hold and now there's a surge? I had a point to that, and I can't remember where I was going with it.
Hey,
because you know how I am, that analyst brain.
No, it's fine. But to piggyback off that point, right? A lot of people being home have considered other options for themselves. The Great Resignation, right? People are actually considering things that are good for them and trying to understand, making sure that they have that extra income to support whatever they want to do, whether that's refinance or keep their loans the same.
Yeah, and I think that also just the crazy thing about the interest rates and how we don't know what's going to happen with that, and there's so much fluctuation. I think that there's a lot of hype about that, because even if interest rates are changing, it's not going to be so quickly that no one's going to have time to think about, okay, what should I do with my finances?
Yep.
Do you guys have any resources online that people can look at to kind of, if they have questions about this? Like where do you send members when they have questions?
We have a couple articles on our website, MakingCents articles, that kind of speak along these lines to, just educating them on the different student loans and refinancing, things like that. So we definitely have the education out there for our members to look at.
When do you start to repay student loans? Is that after you graduate as well?
Yes.
Okay. What are your
Although, I guess for in school, right? If you're in school, we allow you to make the $25 payment so that you can help build your credit, right? So
so tell me more about that. Because, building credit is
very important.
Well, it's really important, but it's something that people don't really understand that they can be doing while there's just a lot of questions about credit. And I think you know a lot about credit. You were formerly in credit cards. We miss you. But tell me a little bit more about that monthly payment of $25 while you're in school and what that does to help your credit. How does that work?
You can choose that option to where you can pay $25, and that will help you pay towards your loan. And a lot of people don't realize, but those payments are being recorded and helping your score increase little and little over time. So it does help that student that when they finally graduate, they can maybe, refinance on their own without a cosigner. Because most likely if you're a student, you're going to, need your cosigner to support you.
So it gives you a lot of financial independence, and you need good credit to kind of move on in your life, right? So to buy a house, to buy a car, you need to have credit.
All those next steps, all those big milestones that come after school. Yeah. So I think it's a good thing that we put on our website. We promote that. So, it's a good step for credit builders.
Is it unique to Navy Federal, or do other lenders do this?
I believe there are some other lenders that do it in their own unique way, of course.
Right. But that 25 monthly payment, that's something that seems very affordable for people. And is it kind of like a set it and forget it type of thing where you can just set it up and it automatically transfers?
So automatic payments are an option for all of our borrowers. So yes, they can do that.
And can you pause it at any time if you feel like you really just need that $25?
Absolutely.
That's really cool. That's a great benefit. I like that one. One of the best things that my dad ever did for me was give me a credit card when I went to college. I laugh saying that because I know he's probably going to listen to this and be like, oh my God, that was a disaster. But, that taught me about building credit and the importance of making sure that, that monthly payment really matters, and just showing on-time payments can boost your credit history. And then or the opposite, which I think that's why it's important that you guys are, you allow people to pause that, because if you miss payments, that's also takes a credit ding. So this is like a good learning tool, I think. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we offer options. If they ever run into anything, they can apply for forbearance. We can help them. So they just reach out, they apply for it. We go over their individual circumstances at the time.
So what did forbearance look like in the past year and a half? Like what happened during the pandemic? What kept you up at night?
I didn't know what I was doing. My
No
first
one did.
real world experience.
No one did.
And during the pandemic, we absolutely kept our members top of mind, right? We helped over 1,800 members with payment relief for their loans. And as always, we're going to continue to monitor their needs, and we adjusted as we needed to ensure that they were okay, that we got their back, that we're doing this for them. So pandemic was a fun time.
Yeah. Well, I think it taught us a lot too about,
Yep.
just the importance of making sure that if you put the members top of mind, it's always going to work out. And I think that's pretty cool. So it says here that you guys assisted over 1,800 members with payment relief. That's a pretty high number. How many members do you guys serve in the private student lending world? Ballpark?
Oh,
Is this a
man.
big percentage? I mean, and did you reach out to them, or did they reach out to you? Like, how did that work? Did you just kind of know who needed help, or did they have to request it?
They requested it. And I think ballpark is like 30,000 or so that we have in our student and refi space. So they reached out. We gave them the help that they needed, either online or maybe some called by phone. So
Okay. So I have some questions for you that came from my sister. So shout out to Caitlin Bigham, because she and my older brother both went and got their MBAs a couple years ago, and I know for her it was a huge stressor because she had to take out student loans. This is the first time that she really had to go through that process, and I just remember it was very stressful and emotional. Not to mention that she's also going to school and figuring out what her internship's going to be in the summer. And, she moved from San Francisco to New York City to go to school, and that was a whole thing. I mean, New York City, as we know, the prices are really high. So some of the questions that she had, which I think we already answered, were, do I shop around for student loans to see what rates I can get? And you said absolutely. So I think that that's a big thing to mention. She asked about refinancing loans after graduation, which you also said yes. And then something that she mentioned that I thought was interesting was, when you are paying off your loans, how do you manage paying off loans versus putting your money towards other investments like retirement accounts, property, stocks?
So I believe there's, some knowledge out there that I've read that anything over 6%, your student loan rates, you're better off paying those, right? Because you would save more money just by paying those. If it's less than that, pay those and you can invest a little here and there and what you're interested in. So I think that's the general guidance that I've seen so far when I've looked into this.
Okay, and is that something that like Navy Federal money managers can also help with? I'm sure that's something they could help with because,
I'm
saving.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, because at this point, when you look at student loans and how long it's going to take people to pay off your student loans, how daunting to think that you would never actually be able to invest any of the money that you make. I mean, you have to figure out what are we doing here, and how am I going to set up myself for financial success?
Especially because right around the time you're graduating, you're also thinking about what does my retirement look like, and in the future, what does that look like? So I think, yes, find a financial advisor if you need to. Navy Federal has them that can help you figure out what the right balance is.
What about students who go to trade schools or unaccredited universities? Is there anything different there about the process they need to go through?
They can still apply for loans. The advice I would give is just determine what the value is. There may be other options out there for you to take advantage of. I mean, there's a lot of online learning, but at the same time, people do want that certificate or that completion. So it's really up to each individual person whether they want to take the loan out or just save the couple $1,000s to pay for what they want.
So transitioning a little bit to military, since that is a big part of Navy Federal's audience and membership, the GI Bill. What do you know about the GI Bill?
So, hey, if you have access to the GI Bill, you should definitely use that for your education. If then additional funds are needed, then you can apply for private loans. But at the same time, borrowers or co-signers' income would be required at that point.
Okay, so if you can take advantage of the GI Bill, you should do it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. And I assume that's something that they also just go to the website and kind of, I don't know if it's similar to like VA loans in that sense. Like, is it a GI Bill financed through an institution, or is it just through the government? Questions for Google?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's,
yes,
it's a big thing. So I also see some facts here. 9 in 10 borrowers aren't ready to resume federal loan payments in October. That's a high number. That's 90%. What does that mean? Aren't ready to resume? Does that mean?
Well, because of the CARES Act, right? 0 payment, 0 interest, nobody is paying. I think I saw something where like maybe 1% of borrowers are actually paying their federal loans. So, yeah, I mean, we still are doing our $25 payments, and people are still paying our loans because we're a private lender. Obviously, we're not the federal. So, I guess that would be something that they would have to determine on how they would handle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that there's still a big emphasis on the importance of college, and I think that's also what's so frustrating is like you don't want something like financing to keep you from reaching your potential and getting you to the point where you're so stressed out that you're like, I'm just not going to do it because I don't understand federal versus student versus the uncertainty of forgiveness. And what is your advice for people who are kind of on the fence about going to school because of financing concerns?
I would say, again, apply for your federal funds because you don't know what you can qualify or what you will get at that point. After that, then you can look into what other options you have out there and what's available. You may find that there's a family member that's willing to help you co-sign or, just to help you further that education. So don't be afraid to go to school because of financing. Apply and then see what happens from there.
Apply and see what happens. And also, I love the $25 monthly payment to help boost your credit. So I feel like right there, there's just there's a positive that you get immediately from doing something like this. And when should people start? When in the process should they start looking into it? When do you have to apply? So if you go to school in the fall, let's say school starts in August or September, when do you start this process?
So I believe the FAFSA opens October 1st of each year. So
for the following year.
Yeah. So as early as you can, you've got to check the federal guideline timelines. You got to check your school timelines. States sometimes have guidelines. So once you know, okay, this is what I'm doing, start researching the schools, your state timelines, and all of that, so that you can go ahead and how I want to do it when it's time for me and my son. Go find out what schools he wants to go to, right? Find out what their timelines are. I keep saying deadlines, I'm sorry, but they're probably the same. Deadlines and timelines. And then from there, I can organize my steps based on what we're going to do, right? So I can tell him, look, this is what needs to be done, blah, 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 blah. Hopefully he'll take some initiative. We will see, But
even if he does, I'm pretty sure you're going to be like, oh, no, honey, thanks, honey, but here's what we're actually going to do. So, yeah, good luck to him. I wish him the best.
We still like to see it, though.
A for effort.
Yeah. So, but that's pretty much the timeline I'm going to be on, is just once I know for sure what schools he wants to go to, start getting those dates written down so that I can organize what we're going to do.
So a lot of pre-planning.
Yep.
And then is it ever too late to apply?
That I guess would be up to your
Not
school.
everyone is Brittany Mills.
I know.
And it's like
that would be up to
was
your
ready
school.
when your child was 8 years old.
I'm sure they'll make some exceptions based on what happened the past year, but it's really up to them.
Also because there is some uncertainty, you just never know. So, you never know what you're going to get back from your application, and then you never know what exceptions they'll make. But also, like, what if you're in school and then your situation changes and you need student financing loans? Like,
you can apply.
You can apply. So at any time. So it's never too late, really, at any time.
You can apply and see.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to talk about?
I would just want to say that this is to the students and to the parents as well, but we've all been through our own personal challenges this past year, right? And I would say, please take care of you, right? Take care of yourself, whether it's through meditating, creating, connecting, caring for yourself. I think all of that is very important. And if you don't know how or what to do, your school might have resources. There might be resources in your area that you can use. But keeping your mind healthy is just important, and I feel very strongly about that.
That's great. And I think the emotion, the stress that comes with debt and financing, reach out to your trusted lender and talk to someone about what you can do to kind of help ease that, because if we can at least relieve some of that stress, I think that's a big win too.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I can't wait for you to circle back with me and tell me what's going on with student loan forgiveness.
I know. Maybe I'll be back. I'll be back.
Who knows? You never know. Thanks so much, Brittany. It was great to talk to you, and I hope you have a great weekend.
You too.
And good luck to your son.
Navy Federal Credit Union is federally insured by the National Credit Union Administration. This podcast is intended to provide general information and shouldn't be considered legal, tax, or financial advice. It's always a good idea to consult a tax or financial professional for specific information on how certain laws may apply to your individual financial situation. References to and participation with the military community does not constitute organizational endorsement. Navy Federal is an equal housing lender. Navy Federal Credit Union are members of the mission, insured by NCUA.